During this lesson you will be required to fill out a worksheet. I recommend you read through the worksheet before viewing the lesson. In order to give you time to do this, you can use the pause button at the bottom of the screen. Learning outcomes. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to state what a rough segmental arch is, state the two possible rises of a segmental arch, state the two methods used to find the striking point of a segmental arch, state the formula used to calculate the striking point of a segmental arch, calculate the amount of voussoirs in an arch, and calculate the accurate gauge of an arch. Rough segmental arch. This is an arch whose intradose and extradose are made up of segments of a circle, which is less than half a circle, hence the name segmental arch. The rise of a segmental arch is always 1/6 or 1/8 of its span. To calculate the amount of voussoirs in the arch, bend your tape around the top of the timber centre from one springing point to the other. Then simply follow the same steps used for calculating the number of bricks and the gauge for a semicircular arch. Here are two methods of finding the striking point of a segmental arch. Method 1. This is a rough method and it's handy for using on site. We use the following formula: half the span multiplied by half the span plus the rise, divided by the rise, divided by 2. Here's an example. Find the striking point of a segmental arch whose span is 900 mm, assuming the rise in this case is 1/6 of the span. The answer. Using the formula, it's half the span by half the span plus the rise, which is 450 multiplied by 450 plus 150. Divide this down by the rise, which is 150. And then divide that by 2. This gives us a measurement of 675 mm. Therefore, the striking point, which is the vertical distance down from the centre of the springing line, is 675 mm. So by simply finding the centre of the opening and measuring down 675 mm from the springing line, this will give us the striking point of the arch. Method 2. This is an accurate and precise method. It must be used when drawing, or if the arch is required to be drawn out on site. First we draw a line A to the width of the span. This is now the springing line. Then we draw a vertical line B through its centre. Next we mark the rise C on the vertical line B. This is always 1/6 or 1/8 of the span. Next, join points A and C together and then bisect this line. So holding the point of the compass on point A, extend your compass out and swing an arc up above the line and down below the line. Then you move the point of your compass to point C and swing an arc up above and down below the line. We join these two points together and let the line extend on down until it cuts point B. This gives us our striking point at point D. To mark the striking point on site, wedge a piece of timber between the two jambs and tap in a nail at point D to secure your line to. To mark the skewbacks on site, extend the line from the striking point through the springing point. When the skewbacks are built and checked, the line is no longer needed. How to build the voussoirs. 1. Keep the voussoirs in the first ring flat on top of the timber centre. 2. The angle of the voussoirs in the second ring can be controlled by keeping the bed joint between the two rings exactly 10 millimeters. This will ensure that the extradose of the curve is perfectly parallel to the intradose, ensuring that the curve on the extradose is a sweet, perfect curve. Calculations. To find the length of the intradose or any arc, the following formula may be used. 3.14 multiplied by diameter divided by 360 multiplied by the angle created at the centre of the circle. Therefore, the sum for this arch becomes 3.14, which is pi, multiplied by 1500, which is the diameter, divided by 360, which is the full circle, multiplied by 74 degrees, which is the angle created at the striking point when joined to both springing points. So we end up with a measurement of 968 millimeters. This is the length of the curve. The length of the intradose is 968 mil. So we divide it by 75, which is a brick plus a joint, to find out how many voussoirs will go into the first ring of this arch. So therefore, 968 millimeters divided by 75 mil equals 12.9 bricks. Remember, we can't put a cut into the arch, so we need to round this up to the nearest odd number of bricks, which is 13 bricks. To find the spacing for the voussoirs to be marked on the intradose, we divide the length of the curve, which is 968 mil, by 13 bricks. This gives us 74 millimeters. Now we have to allow for the extra joint. So what we do is we reduce the gauge on either side of the key brick from 74 to 73 for 4 random bricks or for 4 alternate bricks. This will give us 8mm and 9mm joints in the arch. So this arch has 13 voussoirs in the first ring, spaced at 73 and 74 millimeters. The same procedure is repeated for any additional rings to be added. Conclusion. A rough segmental arch is made up of a segment of a circle. The rise of a segmental arch is always 1/6 or 1/8 of the span. The two methods used to find the striking point of a segmental arch are the calculation method, which is using the formula half the span by half the span plus the rise divided by the rise divided by 2. The second method is the drawing method. Calculating the amount of voussoirs in an arch is achieved by simple division. And working out the accurate gauge of an arch is essential and cannot be guessed.